I'm me again! While I breathe, no wizard can control me!
The true origin of Sunsword from Thundarr the Barbarian finally explored. Alright guys, just imagine this for a minute. Earth has been pretty much destroyed, engulfed in rivers of fire, and now humanity is on the brink of extinction. The moon has literally been shattered into two, and the world is in the Dark Ages. It's been taken over by wizards, magic, and some next level tech, while humans are just scrambling and scavenging to survive. They're literally being enslaved by sorcerers. Now, some of you know exactly which world I'm talking about, especially if you grew up in the 80s. Thundarr the Barbarian. Now, this guy literally ruled the cartoons just as he ruled the savage wastelands of the year 3994. His blonde hair flew in the wind as he saved his fellow humans with his companions Princess Ariel and Ookla the Mock. But one thing particularly stood out to me, the one weapon that this barbarian hero carried with himself, a blade that crackled and filled our screen with a golden glow, the Sun Sword. Now, we've seen a lot of swords on this channel, from the lightsaber to Excalibur, but Sun Sword was different. Yes, it was a blade of pure energy, but the real mystery was its origin. For over 40 years, we have all wondered, where the hell did this weapon come from, and how was it created? Well guys, we finally have some answers, and it's all thanks to the comic run by Jason Aaron and Kuber Baal. So today, we're breaking down the origin of the Sun Sword and the happenings of issue 4 of Dynamite's Thundarr the Barbarian. And let me tell you, the wait has been worth it. So, let's dive into it. Recap of issue number 3. Okay, now first I'll quickly jog your minds with where issue 3 left us. Earth was destroyed back in 1994 when a massive comet passed between Earth and the moon, and 2,000 years later, we've got Thundarr, Ariel, and Ookla fighting off groundlings and wizards. But the Council of Wizards have managed to revive and fix the moon dial, which allows them to travel back in time all the way back to 1994. And our trio of heroes follow them. We also see flashbacks, which are technically flash forwards, where Thundarr is still a slave of Sabian, the King of Wizards. Princess Ariel's past is revealed as she's the adoptive daughter of Sabian. And issue 3 entirely focused on the events of the day in 1994, when the cataclysm had happened. The Council of Wizards casted a spell and siphoned off energy from the apocalypse. They wanted to rewrite history entirely and kill off all of humanity. And the one thorn in their way was Ariel, who was also a wizard and was siphoning off that same energy to use it against the wizards. We also get some flash forwards here where we see Princess Ariel in Sabian's fighting arena, trying to get through to Thundarr and Ookla, who had been pit against one another in a fight. This is also when we get to see the hilt of the Sun Sword hidden in her robes. Now, in the present timeline in 1994, Ariel was unleashing some next-level powers and was almost about to end the cataclysm. And then suddenly entered Sabian, her stepfather, who was supposed to be dead. He seemingly defeats and kills her as the Council of Wizards are almost at the edge of victory, just about having completed their spell. They were on the verge of destroying humanity, and that's when the issue ended. The weapon that changed humanity forever. Now this brings us directly to the storyline and panels of issue number 4, and we waste absolutely no time before diving into the dark history of the Sun Sword. Issue 4 begins with the far future, when Lord Sabian was greeted by the pigmen of Bloodslop Swamp. They had come to honor him since he was the King of Wizards and was known to be one of the most cruel yet powerful of all wasteland warlords. Out of respect and reverence, they gifted him 10,000 human slaves, along with a special gift. Encased in a small golden casket, it was a weapon of unfathomable power. Yep, guys, it was the Sun Sword, or rather the hilt of the Sun Sword. A sword of ancient legend that is said to burn with the power of the great fire that lights the sky. While it looked ordinary, it was said to blaze like a megastorm of scarlet lightning. Sabian picked it up, and nothing. He tried examining it, and nothing. Naturally, with his short fuse, he got frustrated, thinking it was some kind of joke, and started banging the hilt on his throne. But it turns out the pigmen have never been able to activate the sword themselves, but figure that a wizard like him would surely be able to trigger it. Furious, he unleashed his sorcery and started to slaughter the pigmen to show them how he didn't need some lame sword. And in the midst of this, Ariel picked up the hilt and took it with her. Remember how we saw her carrying it in episode 3? Well, this issue takes us right back to that incident. Thundarr and Ookla's fight had just ended, and they're now locked in the dungeons again. Of course, with nothing better to do, they're just bickering away and calling each other names. But suddenly they're stopped and reprimanded by a robed figure. And it's Princess Ariel. Thundarr does correctly recognize her as Princess Ariel, Sabian's witch daughter. This is also when we realize that it is Ariel who has been manipulating Thundarr's dreams and memories. She tells him that they are not dreams, but rather real. But he isn't too keen to believe her. Of course, we already knew that she was Sabian's adoptive daughter, or rather, stepspawn. She also tells Thundarr that she has spent years trying to think of what spell she can cast that would kill Sabian in his sleep. But she's failed, till now. She might not be a slave like Thundarr, but she too wasn't free. She wasn't free from Sabian, and that was all she wanted, for those dreams to be real. She then explains to both Thundarr and Mok that the three of them were destined to find each other. Their fates were intertwined, and that's why they had to work together no matter what, especially to end Sabian. But Thundarr, with the gaping void within him, wanted nothing to do with her or the Mok. And let me tell you, Ariel straight up calls him out. She tells him that no amount of drinking could erase the barbarian within him and turn him into a slave. She tries to remind him of who he really is and who he is destined to be. Ariel tells them that Sabian was planning something the next day and that they would have to be sharp, alert, and on their guard. And it's in this panel when she finally revealed the hilt of the sun sword that was tucked in the sleeves of her robes. When Thundarr asks her what it was, she explains how it's the most powerful weapon to ever exist and just casually throws it to him in his cell. And just as we think he's about to reach for the sword, he instead picks up his bottle of drink and starts to glug it down. Then, the next day, we see Princess Ariel being presented to her father, Lord Sabian, by his guards, all handcuffed, like some prisoner. She's obviously confused by the whole situation, and that's when Sabian reveals that today was her test. He asks her if she remembered the first ever lesson he had taught her, and tells her that it was time for her to show her full potential, the spark he had seen in her when she was just a time. And if she failed, she'd be cast aside and discarded. But then he reveals the same monster that she had fought the day he had adopted her. But, surprise, surprise, it wasn't for her. And that's when Thundarr and Ookla entered the arena. They had to face the beast. You see, Sabian had found out that she was helping them conspire against him, and this was his test, as well as punishment. Sabian was sure that the beast would devour the barbarian once and for all, and Ariel would have to watch, helplessly. If she shed even a single tear, she wouldn't survive the test either. But clearly, Sabian had no idea that Ariel had already empowered Thundarr by giving him the Sun Sword. She knew that this would be the end, but not of Thundarr. It would be the end of Sabian. Now, of course, Thundarr is absolutely pissed drunk, out of his senses. Sabian just sits on his throne and mocks both Thundarr and Ariel. He realizes that this wasn't going to pan out how he wanted and came up with a better idea to torture his daughter while also dealing with Thundarr. He levitates himself and Ariel down to the arena and thrashes her into the ground. He knows everything about her dreams, her fondness for Thundarr, and how she believes that they share a destiny together. So, he orders her to kill Thundarr. That's her punishment. She would have to use her magic to kill him. But hey, he was generous, so he gave her a choice. Either she would have to kill him or the monster would feast on the slaves. One hell of a choice that is, geez. And Sabian just sits on the sideline, edging on Ariel, encouraging her to unleash her rage on the despicable human who is clearly beneath her. But that's when the guards realize that his bottle of alcohol is actually full. He's been in his senses all along. He quickly smashes the bottle on one of the guards and stabs another. Meanwhile, Ookla the Mok has also decided to join the fight. They both manage to break free from their cuffs. The Hell Beast has also lost control. Yeah, guys, it's chaos. And when Sabian tries to banish the beast back to the Nether Realms, he's attacked by his daughter Ariel. That's when Sabian completely loses his shit. He unleashes his energy, curses Ariel, and attacks her with his entire might. And that's when Thundarr enters the scene and uppercuts Sabian with the hilt of the sword. Of course, Sabian isn't scared because he still thinks it's a useless sword, and that too in the hands of a worthless barbarian. And he had Thundarr in a chokehold before Ariel fires at him. Now guys, prepare yourselves because this is the moment Thundarr proclaims that the sword never wanted Sabian, but it speaks to him, and we see a crackle at the hilt. And boom! In the next page, Thundarr attacks Sabian with the full lightning might of the Sun Sword that has finally been activated. He defeats Sabian and finally attains his freedom. But not just his. He asks all the slaves to pick up arms and defeat the guards, to free themselves from the shackles once and for all. But wait, Sabian recovers from the attack, refusing to be defeated by a barbarian like him. Unfortunately, Thundarr is not who will defeat him. It is Ariel who will unleash all of her powers to put an end to him. And as he's slowly evaporating, his final energy and soul leaving his body, he warns Ariel that the grand finale of the human race has already begun. The human race isn't meant to be slaves. They're meant to be exterminated entirely, and that's exactly what he'll do. So while the slaves, Ookla and Thundarr are rejoicing their freedom, Ariel realizes that they're fucked. Even her visions and dreams of the future were fading away as if time was being reset and rewritten. She explains to Thundarr and Ookla that Sabian and the wizards will use the Cataclysm to power a devastating spell that will end humanity for good. Basically what we see in issue 3, and that they had to stop the Council of Wizards no matter what. They would have to go back in time and fight them, all the way back to 1994. And that's where issue 4 comes to an end. Demon dogs! It's actually really interesting and paradoxical. The very victory that supposedly freed all three of them, Thundarr and Ookla, from a life of slavery and Ariel from Sabian's cruelty, is what also set the final apocalypse into motion. Remember how killing Kang basically led to the end of the world in Loki? This is pretty much the same. By killing Sabian, they triggered a series of events that would spell out the downfall of the entirety of humanity, and the future was unraveling right in front of them. Now the real question is, how do Thundarr and Ookla stop the Council of Wizards? Yes, the Sun Sword has been activated, and we know its origins, but its real test is just beginning. Will it be able to undo a spell that's meant to erase an entire existence? Well, I guess we've just gotta wait and see, guys. And the wait won't be too long because issue 5 is officially scheduled to release on June 17th, and you definitely don't want to miss it. So what are your theories on how Thundarr, Ariel, and Ookla will stop the Council of Wizards? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our breakdown of the upcoming issue 5. Until then, Lords of Light, ride on!